Morning, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of All Things Considered. As always, support US ARC. I'm a bronze member. Bring it up. Boom. So I didn't know whether or not I was actually going to do this today. The last minute, I'm feeling a little bit under the weather. Is what it is. So you're tuning in later. Thanks for tuning in. So I'm not really going to go too long today. Just want to talk about some things that I've noticed, and sort of what I get off my chest, things like that. It's nothing bad. It's mostly about what we talk about, on social media and on these lives, and it's sort of it bugs me a little bit, where we can get a little bit over the top when it comes to being either passionate or talking about what we're interested in here. So everybody's got their favorite projects, right? And it's great. You can talk them up till the cows come home. I don't care. And at the same time, everybody also has things they don't like, and that's fine. I'm not a big fan of Sunset. There are people that are. I'm not going to trash it. If you're in working Sunset, that means you might not be working on some of the things that I'm working on. So we're doing different things. So it's good to have variety and have things that are different, because not everybody's going to want the exact same thing. And we're starting to see that now, where almost like everything has clown, almost everything has pastel, and it's sort of like, well, what else is different? So we sort of, not that we're talking down on clown, but there's a lot of clown combos, so we might not be selling them. But I'll talk about that stuff later. So we have a lot of people that just will say, it can look ugly to you, just don't trash the animal itself, right? Because it might look good somewhere else. It might look good in a different combo. And I bring this up all the time. Everybody's hates on pastel and clown. Now, clown's is the most popular recessive right now. So, I obviously it would make sense, if pastel and clown, don't mix well together on their own, just those two, and maybe a couple other codons together. It would make sense to, not like that, but don't. My issue is like just the overall, and it seems to be pastel just because it's been around since, the dawn of this, of ball python breeding. It's just the ripping on it. Pastel isn't overall a bad gene. Yes, it's widely available. Almost everybody has it. You're going to find it everywhere. And you're talking down on that gene, and you have people that are coming in new, perhaps looking at these animals, but they've watched these shows, they've watched us talk about it, and they see something with pastel, and you know what? People are saying it's not a good, morph. It's not, it's something they don't want in their collection, all that stuff. Good morning. Thanks for tuning in. Long time no see. So yeah, and it might turn that person off of an animal that they might think it might look good to them. So I don't like the sort of overall hate on certain combos, certain morphs. Just say you don't like them. That's fine, right? To me, it's my opinion on it. I think pastel and leopard look great. I think pastel and acid look great. There are certain things that it works with, and it goes for a lot of other, genes that might not be, extremely popular right now. And that could just be because there's no, new Batman or Pompeii or something with that specific gene in it, to sort of, bump it up, prop it up, bring it back to being popular. So yeah, do what people buy with their eyes, right? At the end of the day, if I don't label something, right? Now you may be able to, figure out what's in it, but somebody that's not heavily involved in this won't, right? So if they're just, on that pet level, they're looking for a nice looking animal, they might not care about what's in it. They care about what it looks like. So I mean, that's what my focus is. Yes, I have these projects that I work on, but I might hold something back that is less genetically powerful but more visually stunning than another animal, just because I want to keep the best stuff and work the best stuff that I produce here. So I have a leopard pastel that I think I'm going to part with, just because I have a lot of pastel, and I will have a lot of leopard, and I can always make make the same thing, or make the same combo. And both leopard pastels that I produce this year are pretty decent looking, and I don't mind holding the other one back because she does have a smaller eye, so she might have only gone as a pet quality animal anyway. Just because of that, there's nothing wrong with her. It is what it is. I'm trying to make the combos that I like, the color palettes that I like, and keep the best stuff back for me, while further adding things in, to try to differentiate myself from the rest of y'all. So one of the things that I've noticed, and it's been since I've come in onto the breeding side, always been a keeper, but never, wasn't really too involved in the social media and the news and the goings on in the hobby, until I started breeding, and I was stuck at home during COVID, and I had nothing better to do than to do the little bit of work I could do for my job. But then I couldn't really, since we couldn't really do much, I was watching all this reptile content on YouTube, and sort of got back in. But it seems like anytime there's an animal that somebody produces that's visually stunning, like the Batman or Dreamsicle, Panda Pine, something like that, something that's going to catch everybody's eye, regardless of their what they're interested in as far as genetics go. Those animals seem to set the tone for the hobby, or for the hobby in the industry. So if we all follow trying to recreate these things that were made, say something new comes out this year, and you gather up all the ingredients to make it, by the time and everybody else does that, 3, 4, or 5 years down the road, the market is going to be inundated with all that stuff, and it's going to drive the price down. And if it's going to be everywhere, it's not going to be as interesting. So I'll have to go check that out when I get off of this. But yeah, I mean, if we all are playing follow the leader, we're all doing the same thing, it's not going to be good. I mean, we're going to be complaining about the market. We're going to be complaining about, I can't move these animals. Yeah. If you had a town of all McDonald's, you're going to get bored of your eating options, right? It's like, I can go to this McDonald's, but this McDonald's been there longer, but it's all the same stuff at the end of the day. So it's really not good. So, what I want to do here is, I have the ingredients to make a Batman. I don't have the ingredients to make it a Dreamsicle. So, if I wanted to produce a Batman down the road at some point, yeah, I probably could do it. Or, I'll just buy one if I want it, mainly for the genetics in the combo, not necessarily to remake them. It's I can certainly do that, but I have some other clown stuff with more codons in there, so I could add to that and move that around within my other projects. But I mainly focus on like Ultramel and Pied stuff. I am getting into DG, so I'm looking to sort of make things that are the overall recessives are popular and common, but focusing on making something different or slightly different or different enough that I can make myself stand out, so that I'm not selling or not producing all the same stuff that everybody else is. If you don't hit a Batman, your byproducts, it could be clowns, could be het clowns, things like that. So, you want variety. Yes, at the end of the day, things have to be visually appealing because people are going to buy with their eyes, and I get that. But at the same time, for me, um, I could potentially purchase an animal that's genetically powerful but not visually powerful, just because depending on what the makeup is. I mean, it could have something that's reducing the pattern that I may not be a fan of, or may have pastel that I may not be a fan of in that specific combo. If it's a clown combo, something like that. But when I'm breeding that, there's a chance that that pastel is not going to get passed on to the offspring. There's a chance that whatever you dislike in that animal is not going to get passed off into the offspring. There's a chance you're going to have different combos. It's not going to be a clone of that animal, or it's not going to be there's going to be variety. It's not, the odds aren't that nice to everybody. We're going to get like the all gener in every animal, unless of course you are breeding visual recessive to visual recessive, and with supers and things like that. Then it's sort of like, well, okay, it has to be. But yeah, I mean, we if you had an acid pastel clown Enchi, something like that, you're buying it. You don't care if it has pastel in it because it has those other genes, because it's an acid clown. So back to my initial pet peeve. But yeah, you want to be different. You want to, and I think Billy was saying the same thing last night, and I don't want to say I'm echoing him. We have a similar opinion on this, and I've shared it previously. I'm not trying to be like, oh, I watched it, so that's what I'm going to talk about today. I just happened to turn on his show when that came on, and I agree with that. If we're all making the same stuff, it's not good. So if you're in a different project, you're in, like Steven and Courtney, you're in Sunset, I may eventually get into it if there's something that works. If I see it with Ultramel and something else, I'll get into that. But right now, people like them are working on in an area where I'm not, and I'm working in some areas where they're not. So if we're all in slightly different directions, producing different things, then I think it's overall good for the industry. We're all producing the same thing. It's not good. I mean, so we're not only going to drive the market down, because we're going to be inundated with inventory and all the same inventory. So it almost doesn't matter where you go. If you want, a base clown, most people are probably going to have that for sale. Some other, codoms in that mix. It's going to get stagnant. And then if we continue to produce those same things, then we're going to have even more of that, overstock. And then we're going to continue to complain, things like that. So I don't think, my opinion on the market currently is, if you have something with staying power, right, that when the economy and everything starts to go back up and you can sit on it. But if it's something that is everywhere right now, I would offload it, right? And I might not make that, do that pairing next year, depending on, or this year or next year, depending on market conditions, because we're just going to be adding to that. And so maybe this is a year, or next year, make your holdbacks. Limit your pairings depending on what you're working on. If you now it is depending on your size. If you're smaller like me, I'm able to just take a year off of certain things, and that's fine. I mainly go for the stuff I want to hold back, and a few other things where there is a potential holdback that I could produce, but we don't want to continuously pump the same things into the market and then wonder why a visual clown is going to be at like $100. Well, because you can they're a dime a dozen, just because of the sheer quantity. So change it up. Work a different recessive into it. A multi-codom, double het might, if it's a male, female, it might be a little bit different As far as the price point, because those codons would have to be, on point, and it would just have to be the right fit for the right person. So you might lose out on that if you're vending at a show or something like that, with the double hats, depending on what they are. But it might be a better way to sort of market that. Or if you can get a visual with a hat and those codons, it's going to be slightly better. You don't want You want to make yourself stand out a little bit better than what's currently available. I guess that's basically the gist of what I've been saying. It's early. It feels like a Monday. I'm dealing with a cold, so it is what it is. But yeah, we all are. I get we're all chasing the same overall dream. If done this, if you're doing this full time and you're succeeding, great, good for you. Most of us aren't ever going to be there, just because of the sheer volume and input that would have to go in to get to that point quickly. Some of us may. I mean, if I do this another 30 years, I can retire and do this full time. So I will hit that goal, but it's not like this is going to be my full time job, going to be my livelihood. So, we want to chase certain things, but you have to realize that you might not be able to, unless you can get yourself in a position where you can corner the market somewhere. So when these larger breeders release these animals, these combos that they've produced, do not think that is the first one that they've ever produced. For the most part, they probably have produced it in years. They probably have something that's close to breeder size, because it doesn't make sense for somebody to release that animal, release the ingredients, and let everybody else make it right away. Because it takes away their corner on the market. If I'm making, say I'm making Batmans, but I already have, the recessive version, multiple codon versions growing up, ready to go. By the time I start releasing them, or, releasing what's in there, and people start buying them and starting to produce them, I'm still ahead of you. So, for me, I would love to get to a position where I can produce something that's, that game changing. But also, even if I do, I might not. I'm probably not going to share it, or at least I'm not going to share what's in it. Unless if it's obvious, then I might not even post it. It might be, hey, check it out here, and if you're lucky, come here, because I don't want other people to sort of jump me on a project that I may have been the first one to produce. So yeah, even with recessive or new genes or things like that, we see people that'll sometimes they'll hit something and they'll sell it right away. It's like, no, work it. Make sure you are so far ahead of everybody else that you can get your bread in the project, right? You have this gene in recessive. You have it in multiple codons. You've worked it as much as you can, so that it works well with various recessives. It has a super, whatever. Don't just be like, oh, I hit this, and then second generation you hit it again and then sell some of them off. It's like, well, now somebody that has a more powerful collection, if that gene is something special, can take that and blow you out of the water, and possibly to the point where people forget that you're the one that started it. So I don't want to avoid that, and we get this thing with social media for this instant gratification. We're posting all of our clutches. We're posting, pretty much everything that goes on in our lives. But I get wanting to be transparent, but there are certain times where you might want to keep some things behind closed doors when it comes to the direction you're going. Now I don't mean be a total ass and not share any of your pairing. If you're selling an animal, you have to let people know what you put in to make it, right? You have to let them know the history and all that stuff. There's no proprietary crap there. I saw somebody posted that on somewhere at one point, and I immediately clicked off of their page. It's like, yeah, if you're not going to tell me what you put in here to make this animal, I'm not interested in it. So I mean, that's a major turnoff. But I do appreciate the transparency. I try to show as much here as I can on my channel, and have people that have various viewpoints, working various projects. So it's not just me making my own little echo chamber for myself, but I actually forgot where the hell I was going with that. Sorry about that. It'll come back to me. It's early. I read a comment and it totally threw me off. But that'll happen. It was probably something of the being different, keeping you want to be transparent, yes, but you do have to keep some things secret. And on my channel, I try to share everything. There are some things that I'll never share, and I've had in the past. That was only because I was rather ignorant. So like you'll never see live feeding or anything like that on here. The only time I could think of a time when I would possibly do that is if I was showing how to assist feed, which there are other videos out there that do that. So I don't need to. If you reach out to me and ask how to do it, I will gladly, if I have one that I need to assist feed, or maybe I'll just make the video and share it out privately to people if they ask for advice or how to do it. It's not fun, and it's not fun for me. It's not fun for the snake. It's not fun. Obviously, not fun for the prey at him. But it's something that people might not want to watch if it just randomly comes across their screen through an algorithm. And the other thing I'm never going to share. I'll talk about it. Is when I have, like this year, I had 6. I think it was 6 eggs that had snakes in them that developed kinks and various other. They weren't viable, right? There was a snake there. They were not. It was pretty bad. It was a gut punch. When I saw it, I knew the snakes couldn't thrive. There was no hope for them. I mean, it's very sad. But I didn't share any of the. I didn't share any of the egg cutting videos. I didn't share really anything other than the good parts, visually of those clutches. Just because, yes, I understand that we have to talk about, the good and the bad that comes with breeding animals. But at the same time, I don't want to share, pictures of these dead snakes that are really messed up. It's I'm not into that because I'm gonna either trigger some people and then some other people get off on that, and it's that's not the kind of content I want to put out. So mainly it's going to be you're going to see snakes and you hear me talking about my plans and what I have what I observe in the community. So with that being said, I am hosting the Reptile World Order show on Thursday at 9. That's with Ken from LNK, Justin from Pressure Python, Stan from Sea of Serpents, Jesus from Rising Sun Reptiles, and Vance from Blue Zombie. So that should be fun. It's always a good time. Sometimes we get a little carried away and away from the reptile content, but it's a nice refresher. And we're probably going to talk about the fundraiser auction that we are doing for Stan at Sea of Serpents. His wife is battling cancer, so that will be, I believe it is February 10th. Stay tuned for more information about that. As we get closer, you'll see more content regarding the animals that have been donated, instructions, things like that. I have to put together a few things so we can start sharing that out on social media. With that being said, it is getting close to 8 o'clock, so I'm going to call it a day. I will see you guys on Thursday. Catch you guys on Saturday for Shedding Your Skin. I appreciate all of you for tuning in, and we will see you next time.